Everyone, welcome. Lots of familiar faces. Hey, Punky, Fat Man, Penguin, William, Justin, jump up on stage. Enlightened one, I remembered. Vexar, Jarming. Hey, Justin, you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you very well. Excellent.
Perfect. Alrighty. How's it going, everybody?
Enjoying rewards, Punky. Indeed. They come around quicker than I was expecting, but we'll get into that. Great to see you all. Zolkis, great work on the Grafana dashboard. Hey, Capybara, so quick of your responses to our announcements. Hey, Mill. Should we just give everyone a minute to filter in? Justin?
Yeah. Let's give everyone a minute to join up and we'll get moving forward. Hope everyone's having a good Valentine's Day so far.
I've definitely been feeling the love. Hey, Sparks. Okay,
Got
Penguins
some
kicked us
questions
off
from
with
Penguins.
that is a robust set of questions. Okay, let's mark those. We will
If
get
there's
back to them.
anything that's becoming canon of our events, it's your speeches, Jim, and Lazy Penguin's long form questions.
Our set pieces, indeed. Indeed. Where would we be without them? Hey, Ivan. Hey, Pradeek.
Welcome, everybody.
Hey, Intans the guitar. We'd love to have you up on stage. We'll hold some time for Q&A at the end. Just in case it was a miscue, but that's still true for everyone. If you have a question and you'd like to come up on stage and ask it, we'd be very happy to have you.
And you can always just hit the little raise your hand button in the middle there. And it'll automatically put you in line if you have a question you want to ask on stage. But as always, also feel free to throw it in chat if you're not feeling like being in the limelight on the stage. Alrighty. Looks like we're getting just about everybody here. So I think we'll go ahead and kick it off. As always, welcome everybody for joining us with our bi-weekly, well, not so bi-weekly, but regularly scheduled farmer office hours, I should say. We know that you all have busy schedules and have very busy lives, so we want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy days to join us. As always, we're here to answer questions and give you all some insights about the latest developments of the Subspace network, and really just talk all things farmer. As we mentioned just a moment ago, with all of these farmer office hours, we'll always end it off with a Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll mark it with a little red question mark emoji, so that's how you know if it's been seen. But then again, we'll just kind of knock through those in order once we get to that section at the end. Joining us today, my name is Justin. I'm the Community Support Manager here at Subspace. And we also have Jim, who is our Ecosystem Team Lead. How's it going, Jim?
Well, thank you, Justin. Hope you are as well.
Definitely. It's another wonderful day. Additionally, we also like to always remind you all to keep your eye on our Telegram, Discord, Twitter, and forums for continued announcements. Obviously, the forums is going to be the main place to keep an eye out in our announcements category there. And once again, feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions along the way. Beyond that, like all of our Pharmacy Office hours, we'll kick it off with the current status of Gemini 3H. Where are we at, Jim?
Okay, caught me by surprise there. Okay, so we currently have 6,469 nodes on Gemini 3H. So that is steadily growing. It was around 6,200 yesterday. I did check when we shot past 8 PB pledged. So still growing strong, still plenty of farmers joining the network, which is wonderful to see. Our total space pledge, oh my goodness, it is currently at 11,627 TB. So that's around 11.5 PB. So our target of 8 has been well and truly smashed. Yeah, absolutely amazing achievement, everyone. I will talk about that in a minute specifically. The latest version of the software, so Space Acres, I believe, is 0.1.1. The advanced CLI is Febo 5, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think we've had a release since then.
Yep.
And Pulsar, I believe, is 0.8.0. If anyone didn't notice, there was a release announcement, but Pulsar is now compatible with 3H. And something fun we like to do is take a look at our whales. Now, do we have anyone on the first page? Let me just check. Okay, no, so that makes things a bit easier. Actually, okay, right, so let me drop it in the chat and we can take a look together. What's going on? This makes great radio, doesn't it? There we go. Okay, so our whale watch, if you take a look at that link, what that is, that takes us to Subscan, who index the data from our network and provide balances. So I'm suspicious about that 999.999 account with so many extrinsics on it. I know Jeremy's in the crowd. Maybe you can explain what that account is. It's taken me a little bit by surprise. We can see that we have some guys who are up to 6. So our highest unlocked balance is currently at 673 coins, which really puts things in perspective for me. With my what we've got, about 5 coins, I think, so far, 5 tokens. I see that competition is pretty fierce there at the front. There's only 5 tokens in it. That is seriously impressive. Oh, thanks, Jeremy. Okay, so I had a feeling it was something infrastructure. I didn't notice that before. So that's the pseudo account for chain. So yeah, it starts at position 39. So yeah, 673, really impressive. And I can see that just on that front page, there's quite a range actually. So the top, what have we got there? So the top 11 addresses range from 673 down to 219. So there's quite a range there. Yeah, wow, watch. I think that's the state of the network. Thanks, Justin.
Definitely. And it's always great to see how quickly the network's expanding. I can't believe how quickly we reached the 8 petabyte. It was something we were joking about it internally yesterday was, we thought we still had a week or two, but all you amazing farmers crushed that goal pretty ahead of schedule. So great work, everyone, on that front. Additionally, so beyond that, yeah, we just want to dive into the space race updates, which I think you wanted to take there, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. So great, perfect opportunity to talk about the. Well, I just can't believe that it's over already, everyone. I'm sure that you realise that I really expect us to beat it in so quickly in 6 days. So when I added this item to today's agenda on Monday, I really never thought that I'd be providing a roundup today, and expected this to be a status update on steady progress. As we've just mentioned, we've seen absolutely amazing, explosive growth at the start of Gemini 3H, which is exactly what we wanted. You know, this mainnet dress rehearsal that the mini space race is exactly what this is exactly what we wanted to do, because the oversimplified version of how the network works is the greater the space pledged, the more secure the consensus is, and obviously we have a cold start problem on a new network, which is that it doesn't take a lot of storage to try and commandeer the network. So before we activate it, before we make things live, we want to make sure that we can get enough farmers to make our consensus secure. So going into some stats, so this is what really is absolutely amazing. And in fact, I checked, the trend is continuing today. So we saw 8 PB pledged to Gemini 3H in just 13 days. And that includes the last 6.5 PB plotted in less than 6 days, which would have been since liftoff. So 13 days since launchpad, 6 days since liftoff. And this is mind-boggling. The last 4 PB in about 1 day. So let me just drop the graph in case anyone hasn't seen this yet. This is absolutely well, it just demonstrates what we're talking about. So you've got blocks along the bottom, and you've got TB across on the other axis, and you can see that there are some huge ladders there, which is just really great to see. So the speed at which we hit the target definitely caught us in the ecosystem team with our pants down, which is ruder in English rather than American, but it torpedoed our plans for the async event, which we promised, as the escape velocity target came and went like a bullet train. No doubt about that. We will get back to you all on the initiatives we had planned, and at the moment we're just thinking about how best we can deliver something fun in the near future to make up for us being caught on the hop. It's kind of a great problem to have. So we're not too worried, but we still obviously have the meme contest, which we need to wrap up. I'm sure you'll see an update from Ryan soon about that. But just as a bit of a roundup on how the space race went, obviously we launched 3H. That was the launch pad phase. At which point farmers were able to start plotting. Obviously, we were seeding data during that initial phase on the launch pad. It was bumpy. It was difficult. There were some real big blocks that farmers had to get past, and it looked like it was getting stuck, and then it would continue. It was definitely a bumpy road, which we did try and set expectations about. But then after a week on the launch pad of us seeding the data and kind of this initial bootstrapping phase, we were able to move into liftoff, which we did on a community call last week, just 1 week ago. So it feels like I shouldn't really be saying that, but and as soon as our activated solution range adjustment, which is how we adjust how difficult it is to farm, and also allows us to see how much space has been pledged, immediately we could see that farmers had been able to plot 1.5 PB. It was 1,584 TB in that short week during the bumpy phase while we were seeding data. Amazing. And at that point, we revealed that it was going to be 8 PB is the target for the space race. So we were checking on Astral, as I'm sure you all were, how growth goes. 2 days later, we hit 2,713 TB. In fact, if you guys want to read along, I'm kind of summarizing this forum post here. And yeah, which represented growth of around 600 TB per day, like amazing. The weekend came and went, at which point we didn't quite double, but steady growth saw us hit 4,174 TB. So that was on Monday, which was just 48 hours ago now. And then yesterday, I came in and I found that we shot up to 7,100 TB. I thought there must be some sort of mistake, but no, those figures were right. And 5 hours later, Astral notified us that we'd hit 8,182 TB. Now, I know that 8 TB is 8,192, but I believe Nazar suggested that it could be the way that Astral rounds. So actually, we did get pushed over. Rewards were automatically activated. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. Check out the graph. It kind of says it all. And I just want to take this chance to reiterate the team's thanks to our community, our farmers that made the mini space race a success way beyond what I dared hope for. So a genuine heartfelt thank you. And now looking forward to the next big thing, of course. I've been told, or I've actually I've read that we have just one pull request left before we have everything required that we need to deploy Nova, our EVM domain on 3H. So we can expect that to come soon. And when that does happen, we can start thinking about Stake Wars 2. The staking interface we used for Stake Wars 1 is now being integrated into Astral. I see Emil's popping links in the chat. If you have a look in the Stake Wars channels, you'll see that there's an appeal for testers there. I can't stress enough how useful it is to our engineers to get feedback from our community. We can test it, but testing it at scale is so much more useful to find those edge cases, to find where things aren't quite right. So please do check the links that Emil's dropped in the channels. I'm not sure if there's something there that you can drop in, maybe a link to the message you posted, Emil. That'd be really useful. And then obviously Stake Wars 2, looking even further down the line beyond that, all our mini space racers now obviously have a great insight into how the mainnet beta launch will look, which is where in the team, where our sights will certainly be set after Stake Wars 2. And that mainnet beta launch, of course, we'll call the space race. No mini about it. It will be the space race. And you can expect the usual flourish and excitement and events all around that. So, I'm certainly looking forward to that. But yeah, as a roundup, I feel like the mini space race was, a massive, massive success. And again, huge thanks to everyone who participated and took their time and dedicated their resources to help us realise our dream there. Okay, and with that, have we got hot topics next, Justin?
Yeah, not a bunch of them, but we got a couple I figured we'd touch on. So luckily, overall, the Farmer Feb 05 version seems to be very stable from what we've observed. No major issues. Dev team's not sitting there pulling their hair out. So overall, it's relatively pretty decent release. And luckily, we've been seeing that same feedback kind of mimicked from the community as well. There are a couple things that we are seeing pop up that I did just want to address. One that we're seeing pop up occasionally, especially with Space Race and kind of the back and forth nature of this variable in particular, is people saying, I'm not seeing any rewards while I'm plotting. Now, this is kind of to be expected in the current state, as we have a value in the farmer called farm while plotting. Initially, this was set to true, and then it's gone back and forth. In the latest version, it was set to false by default. So if you're running the Feb 05 version and you would like to farm while you're still plotting, you will have to switch that to true with an option when you're launching the farmer. This will be especially noticeable for those with really, really large plots. If you're expecting it to take days and days and days and days to plot, that might come in handy, especially if you're looking to start getting some rewards on your farmer. Additionally, we are still seeing some users report very high RAM usage on Windows-based machines in particular. This is a bug we're currently investigating still. So we're kind of in that phase where we're trying to gather as much information for the development team as possible, as they are still trying to get this resolved for you all. So if you are running Windows and you're facing very high memory usage, feel free to throw your information or any details you may have from that experience into that forum post I just linked into the side chat. Again, this is one of those ones that we are aware of, but we don't quite have a fix just yet, so we're still investigating fixes and things along those lines. Luckily, it's not too problematic beyond just the slight headache that is, low available RAM. But it's not like it's going to corrupt your plot or anything along those lines. More so of just a symptomatic error where you'll see a little bit of a slowdown, obviously. And then one error that I did see pop up yesterday morning was failed to receive piece from node error. Now, those of you who have been with us for a while will know that we used to expect this error a lot more when we were first getting our DSN and things like that up and running. But currently, we should not be seeing this bug. So if you do see this bug pop up, it'll even say this in the warning message that this is an implementation error and please report it. Please report that up to the forums rather rapidly so we can get our eyes on that one, as we wouldn't expect to see it at this point in time. Especially obviously with that warning message, we want to make sure we can get that taken care of. Beyond that, mostly that we're still seeing at this point is just kind of getting new farmers up and running. I want to thank, there's many of you in this chat who are helping us get those farmers up and running, or are continuously doing diligent support and ensuring that no one has any issues. I want to echo Jim's thanks and give you all the team's thanks as well for your continued help, especially as we get more and more people joining us. So it's been great to see. And in that same note, we've been seeing a lot of community tools starting to come out. So I got a couple I wanted to shout out. Now note, this isn't an all-inclusive list. I may have missed a couple. I'm still working on gathering everything up together. So if you did make something or any community tools or anything, feel free to send it my way. I'd love to take a look. But one that I think is definitely doing a lot of awesome work is Hake Hardware's plot report list. So he made a nice little script that basically wraps your farmer and helps report it to his plot list here. So just a simple list where we're starting to see, some of those performance metrics. I know many of you have been curious about, about plotting performance and things along those lines. Again, this is a community tool. It's not official by Subspace in any manner. So definitely give it some due diligence, but we definitely want to shout out the amazing effort here of giving us a little bit of insight into how, performant is plotting in different areas. And I threw a link for that in the side chat if anyone's curious to take a look at that. Another one that I saw posted the other day is Wolf Rage built a third-party tool list. So this list I think is particularly awesome because it's, like I mentioned, closer to that all-inclusive list of community tools. Again, this one is also not official, but it is just a passion project that Wolf Rage has been working on, where he's gathering the various different awesome things that you all are working on. And I also have a chat for that guy in the side chat for anyone who's curious. And last but not least, one that's fresh off the press is Zulkus, actually just a couple minutes before the Farmer Office Hours started, announced that he got his Grafana Subspace dashboard updated. So if you're looking for a way to monitor your node using Grafana and Prometheus, those are luckily very easy to integrate with our node. And there is a guide as well there for anyone who is interested in checking that out. So shout out to Zulkus for getting that up and running. And once again, I'm sure there's many more that I've missed here. If you need any help or have any questions or even want to share, shoot me a message. I'm happy to take a look and happy to help out where I can with any of you amazing users who may be building third-party tools like this, which are designed to support farmers. And once again, shout out to them for taking the initiative and really going above and beyond as community members. We really appreciate that. Alrighty, that's everything on my end for common issues and community tools. I'll hand it back over to you, Jim.
Thanks, Justin. and a freshly merged docs PR from Emil earlier has yielded this this official docs page where we are trying to kind of keep track. It's great that Wolf Rage is kind of aggregating them for us, so we just need to reference his one page. But going forward, let us know, or submit a PR if you have a tool that you'd like listed on the community tools. We're not precious about who owns the community tools list, but we do want to make sure that people can find it. So, yeah, speak to Wolf Rage or ourselves and get on one of the lists. We love seeing these community tools. I can't tell you how excited we are when we see some new development. And I would say that Zorkis's Grafana solution is particularly useful. It's something that I've dabbled with myself, so it's something that I know a little bit about. And Zorkis has come up with a really easy way to gather those node metrics. Obviously, Nazar's made changes recently to include farmer metrics, which allows us to do all sorts of cool new things. And Zorkis has really seized on the opportunity there. It's something I'm interested in hooking up myself. Obviously, Alex from Hate Dev. Hake Hardware, sorry, his website's Hake Dev. It's some wonderful movie content as well. If you learn better from watching a video, check his channel out. I'm not sure if he's in the crowd, but maybe someone can pop his a link to his YouTube channel in the chat. And I'm just rewinding a little bit because I just wanted to clarify. I did drop the farm during initial plotting command into the chat. The software actually switches that flag itself based on whether you have over 8 logical cores available. So if you have over 8 logical cores, you just don't need to touch it. If you have under, you've got the opportunity to start farming while plotting when the default override the default behavior there. Thanks for that, Nazar. Okay, right. So this week I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to do a bit of a recap. So first of all, we're gonna try and hold plenty of time at the end for questions. We tend to run out of time, which is not ideal. But this week, I'm actually going to just run through a bit of a farming recap, almost like a bit of a network 101. So I've seen some interesting chats recently, and I wanted to just pull out some of the items that were being discussed. And the first one is just an explanation about seeded data, blockchain history size, and space pledged. Now I'm going to, of course, try and share my screen. Hopefully it will work. Okay. Do you see my screen? Is that working?
Yep, all good on my end.
Okay. So yeah, I wanted to talk through a few statistics here. So we're looking at Astral. I'll drop the link in the chat. And okay, so I was chatting to some farmers in Discord Sunday night actually about network size and replotting, and it's not necessarily a simple or an intuitive thing to understand all the figures involved and what they mean. And sometimes I definitely understand this, but sometimes it's tricky to maintain perspective from within the project where we on the team sit, and we understand what's going on and the meaning of lots of these strange concepts that newcomers might not grasp immediately. So I'm just going to deliver that same recap here, and I want us to really try and get back to basics a little bit today, and see if anyone in our audience has fundamental questions about how Subspace works. We do love helping you all with tweaking your command line parameters, but let's just take a step back briefly. And if anything I'm about to discuss does not make sense, please do pop a question in the chat or raise your hand to jump up on stage. and we'll see if we can get you an answer. That also goes for any questions about incentivized testnet, the team, or recently announced extension, or the project in general. It's farmer office hours. I know there's a lot of topics that will be close to your heart. I don't profess to have all the answers, but we will do our best to answer whatever we can. So let's get into it. So a couple of things I want to explain, where I think that some clarifications might be useful. First of all, the blockchain history we seeded for Gemini 3H, so that was around 20 gigabytes. And so you can see here that we have this figure, 46.75. So you might be wondering what's going on there. The data on the blockchain gets erasure encoded, which is actually like a way to ensure that the data is resilient to degradation, or if we lose a piece of the data, we can rebuild it in a safe way. Erasure coding is actually something that's been around for quite a while. It's like I think Phillips developed it maybe in the 70s, and the idea is that you can almost like stripe the data, if you're thinking about a RAID array, but essentially what that does is it blows it up to double the size, which is how we've ended up. We may have seeded 20 gigabytes, but we've actually got, now we're at 46. So that's what that history figure there is. The history itself is the blockchain history. It's all of the transaction data, which then gets blown up for resilience, and then stored. That is what everyone's storing in their plots. That history does grow all the time, because obviously there are transactions and blocks being added all the time. Yeah, so you can get an idea of the archive history size, as it's called there. Hopefully that makes sense. Then we have space pledged, which is this figure here. Frankly, incredible, 11.5 gigabytes today. It's all the actively farmed sectors that our farmers have managed to plot. Oversimplifying, but the idea is, of course, that if we lose a part of the data, someone else has it. And that's how we ensure that once you commit to the chain, it's there forever. It's permanence. So as the blockchain grows and more transactions are submitted, their data enters that history, this history, the archive history, and that also needs to be distributed to the network. And our farmers' plots store that new data through the process of replotting, contentious subject from 3G. Sectors expire all the time, but the rate at which they expire is that 50% of a farmer's pledged space will expire for each time the blockchain history doubles. Pull me on my maths here if I've got anything wrong, Nazar. So what that means is, currently, if we have 46.75 gigabytes on the archive history size there, so when that figure doubles, you can expect that over time you will have replotted half of whatever you have pledged, assuming you're not still doing initial plotting, of course. And of course, it's really important to understand that it's the archived history growth that triggers replots, not space pledge. It's something that I know it's kind of a tricky subject to get your head around at first, but I see some misunderstandings sometimes. So I just wanted to highlight that. And one of our ambassadors, Nernaith, I'm not sure if he's in the crowd today, but I think really kind of sparked his imagination with a comment I made, which is that we can grow as hard, as fast as we like, and it's new data without triggering replotting. It's new data being added to the blockchain that triggers those replots, and we need to make sure that new data is stored as safely, both distributed and redundant as the data we already have on the network, which led to me trying to explain, what about if we end up with this situation where everyone on the planet is a farmer and they've allocated all of their spare capacity to the network, but people are still submitting transactions. It's replotting that allows us to store that new data without having new farmers doing initial plotting. Realised that was it. Yeah, okay. So thanks, Jeremy. He's dropped the Subnomicon. This is where I learned it all from. So really, I'm just regurgitating stuff from there. I cannot recommend that resource enough for people to learn about these concepts. But hopefully that will have helped some understand what's going on there. And if it didn't, please let me know where there are still question marks, because we can get to them at the end, and maybe there's an opportunity for me to see if we can ease the learning process there. Okay, and then the second thing that I've seen a little bit of confusion about is regards the incentivized testnet extension rewards. For those that don't know, I'm sure everyone on the call does, and I'm just going to drop the link there for it. For those that don't know, we announced that we would be extending the Gemini 3 testnet beyond our initial estimate of 24 weeks on Monday, which would have had us finishing today, the February the 14th, as luck would have it. But we're all on this call to hear about the change. This would have coincided with our mainnet beta launch, which we announced back in September in our When Subspace blog post. But we now have an updated target to deliver mainnet in Q2 this year. So our aim is that June the 30th is worst case scenario. During that extension, the reward pool will continue to grow at 0.1% of total token supply per week, as it has been for almost the past 24 weeks, because we're going to prorate the 6 days the mini space race liftoff phase ran, which I think it's something like 6 times 0.143%, or around 0.08%. So as of today, we're at 2.4% minus 0.08%, which is obviously 2.32%. I should have calculated that beforehand. And that's because during the mini space race liftoff phase, those days did not count towards the reward pot accrual. And your mini space race efforts have given the team no break on the rewards you continue to accumulate as incentivized testnet farmers. So if there were ever any concerns about the reward pools favoring the team over farmers, you've certainly cooked our goose. I am joking there. Our motivation for the reward pause is well documented in Discord and on the forum posts. So what does that mean, though? So there's been some confusion about, are there any are the rewards partitioned, for example? I think there's this kind of misconception that 3Fs had some rewards, 3G had some rewards, and now 3H is getting some rewards. It's not quite right, because at the end of the incentivized testnet, we will end up with a percentage of total token supply, which represents the full Gemini 3 incentivized testnet rewards. Then each wallet with any balance earned during the incentivized windows on each network, how we announce the start and stop blocks, will have their incentivized block and vote rewards totted up. So let's call that F for farmer. Then all block and vote rewards earned by everyone during those incentivized windows will be totted up. Let's call that T for total. And then F divided by T will give you the proportion of the total reward pool your wallet will have earned. I have tried to explain this and remove ambiguity about how this works in a forum post, but I am, of course, eager to hear if anyone does have questions, because I will pop in and add them and answer them. And here is that forum post. So that was my network recap / rewards 101 session. Hopefully that was useful to some of the members of our audience. And yeah, I think it's probably time to move into Q&A.
Definitely. I've been keeping a list of the questions as we go along. So the first one we had was Lazy Penguin right when we started, right at 9 a.m. It's like, greeting everyone. As usual, I have a few questions. First question being, in a recent announcement from Jim, in the announcements channel, it was mentioned about Steak Wars 2. Is there an award pool for this event, as there was for Gemini 3G? If so, what size and how will it be distributed?
Great question, Penguin. I don't have all the details, but yes, at the moment we have a plan to incentivize it. I don't have the full details, but I would expect it to be something similar to the way it worked before. Great question, of course, but I don't have all the details. Otherwise, they'd be in your hands. I would have posted them already.
Definitely. And then part 2, he's got, I think, 4 parts here. So part 2, when will the result for the last testnet be available? Astral Explorer does not show the data yet. None for Gemini 3G and Steak Wars. If for Gemini 3G, can you calculate it yourself? Since this, because it looks like the Steak Wars calculator is broken, is what he mentioned.
Again, I don't know. Do you know, Justin? Have we got a date for that to be for that product to be finished?
I don't think we have a set date, other than our soon trademark.
Okay. Soon, Penguin. We know there's an appetite for that data. Absolutely. I want to see my own wallets in there as well. You can rest assured that there'll be a big announcements about it when it's ready.
Definitely. And the last portion to his question, his paragraph of questions, I should say, is 8 petabytes. That's a lot of volume that was laid down for the start of this phase. How do you see the volume of the completion of 3H as a development team? Are you expecting at least 15 petabytes, 25 petabytes, 50 petabytes? And will there be the same startup mechanism for when mainnet increase the network size and then launch rewards?
So great questions. Maybe the team would like to chime in with their estimates. I mean, I still can't believe we're still growing, and I'm not sure. We need to see the graph. Are we still accelerating? I don't
We
want to
are.
set a limit. Sorry, Justin. What's your guess? Go on.
I was gonna say, well, we are accelerationists. I wouldn't be surprised if we enter the 20 petabyte range, at least for this stage. Obviously, I think it'll be much more in the long term, but for this stage, I think we're gonna hit the 20 range.
That will be a great day. We're probably going to hit it by the end of the week, the way things are going.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't want to set a limit, Penguin. 100 petabytes for 3H network. If we see that, then I will be genuinely astounded. Yeah.
And then to answer just the ending portion of your question there, this will be the same mechanism for mainnet, yes, roughly. Obviously, the amounts will be different and everything like that, but the process will be roughly very similar.
Absolutely. It's to try and mitigate that cold start problem I touched on earlier, Penguin. I have kind of gone into it in the initial mini space raid post to try and explain it, but if it's not clear why we want to make sure that there's enough storage plotted before we activate real rewards, let me know and I'll try and answer the questions, and I can update the post with them so everyone can benefit. But as usual, Penguin, great questions, of course. Hopefully we see you. Hopefully we see you lose your hat at some point soon. Your little mortarboard. Yeah, the mortarboard can be upgraded maybe.
Alrighty. Next question we had from Enlightened One is when tokenomics? The famous tokenomics question. Well, Todd just joined. Maybe he can come up and
Soon, TM. Oh, okay.
Hey, everybody.
Todd,
Can you hear me?
We
we
can.
can.
Hello, everyone. No, thank you for asking about tokenomics. We have been hard at work with our partners on this block science, and we are working on. I'll get to the when in a second. I'll just explain to you what we're doing. We have come up with a very novel and dynamic issuance model where the issuance rate will actually be subsidized based on the utilization of block space in order to ensure proper incentivization. So we've been working on this for several months with them. We are currently testing it and hope to have it codified, and we will have it codified and in by mainnet. That's part one. Part two, which people are usually referring to when they ask about tokenomics, is the allocations. And that pie chart is also something that we've been working on, but we want to make sure we have it perfect before we show it. We know basically what it's going to look like. However, as you can see with our changes and our decision to extend incentivized testnet, that changes the pie chart a little bit. So we don't want to put something out that's inaccurate. So I do hope we will be releasing that probably at the time when we know that we are going to terminate incentivized testnet, because at that point we can lock them down and we will be happy to share that with you. So this is really a two-pronged effort and something that we are very much focused on at this time with the entire team and again with our partners at Block Science. So it's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Todd. I was joking, didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but I appreciate the awesome, thorough answer.
Sure.
Thanks, Todd. And Todd touched on some really complex maths there. If you have time, read the white paper and you'll understand about dynamic issuance and the way that Subspace has like this self-sustaining, self-balancing market dynamic within it. The white paper is the place where you can, if you can handle the maths, it's a great place to learn. The Subnomicon makes it so much more accessible. The link that was dropped into the chat earlier really gets into it, and I know there is some real complex maths going on behind the scenes, which is what Todd alluded to there. So yeah, when tokenomics soon, enlightened one. Thanks for the question.
And he followed up with another question shortly after, which we kind of already touched on, but the second portion I think would be valuable to answer is, will there be a possibility of decreasing the target from 8 petabytes for mainnet? Of course, I don't want security of the network compromised, but would appreciate all the efforts to minimize the delay of rewards to help out early adopters and smaller farmers. Furthermore, will there be any additional transparency on how this number is calculated?
Yeah, another great question, enlightened one. Okay, so I think really what we can say that we are sensitive to our smaller farmers. You know, we are a free and fair blockchain for all, and we understand that, you know, it's not just the whales that make a network, especially not our network. So we are sensitive to the plight of our smaller guys, and the target for mainnet will be, you know, something that we consider very, very carefully. And actually, so will there be any additional transparency on how this number is calculated? An ambassador actually asked this question, how it was calculated for the or what the process is on the forum. I'll see if I can dig out the post. Nazar kind of explained the dynamics that we're trying to satisfy in that forum post, which I'll try and dig out now. But thanks, enlightened one. Justin, do you want to do the next question while I find that post?
Definitely. So while we wait on Jim on that one, the next question we have is from Punky's Hungry, who this was regarding when we were talking about liftoff velocity and escape velocity and everything. He said, are you concerned about the exponential growth at all? Some people were concerned about bad actors with some sort of advantages. So obviously we definitely are concerned, Punky, and that's something we try to keep a keen eye on. As far as we don't believe there's been any bad actors, anyone who's broken the consensus or the storage measurement model or anything like that. The only thing I think we're really keeping an eye on is, like you mentioned, anyone with a sort of advantage. Granted, being open source software, it is hard to say one way or the other. If there's any clear advantages if someone's rewritten something in some way. That's always a possibility, but we don't think that's occurring at this point in time. Kind of with what Jim mentioned with the how quickly we saw those last few petabytes in escape velocity. Our current estimate is that it's likely just large nodes or large farms rather that finished plotting. So you can imagine, some of your multi-terabyte plots from some of our power users took multiple days, probably about a week to plot. So right around that time, we expect a lot of those finished up, which is where we saw that exponential growth pretty quickly. But as always, we will keep an eye on this kind of thing, and that is, one of the things that like Hawk Hardware's plotting measurement leaderboard will help us kind of weed out and see if there's anyone who's for some reason plotting 1,000 sectors a minute. We know there might be something going on there, but we haven't seen anything with any major advantages like that beyond the variance that you will see between different hardware, which is obviously to be expected.
I am enjoying reading the theories. I must admit, but there is no evidence that someone's got an advantage at the moment. There's speculation, which of course will happen, but certainly I haven't seen anything that's definitive. I think it'd be more obvious if that were the case.
Definitely. But, if anyone finds anything, send it our way. Because like I mentioned, definitely want to keep our eyes out on that. Make sure no Mad Maxes come off with their crazy plotters. Change the game.
It's definitely something we think about on the team. Okay, Penguin, we've got another question here. Okay, so asking about the Gemini 3H Space Pledge dynamic post. So Daria, who's on the call, was on the call, produces a graph of space pledged over time. So blocks against space pledged, the chart that I dropped in the chat earlier. We were asked this earlier in Discord. I don't know how that graph is built, but maybe you could ask Daria on the forum post just above your question, Penguin. Maybe Daria can explain, or maybe it's something that we can, if there's a way we can expose the data for you to query or explain how to gather it yourself. I don't think we have it on the website or somewhere you can just go and look at in real time at the moment. Happy to be corrected by anyone who knows better than I do, of course.
Hey,
yeah. This is very simple. It is just constructed from the on-chain data. So we have had a script that we used for pulling up what are the wallets that get all the rewards from all the networks. And what it basically does, it takes from your local node every block and what was the space pledged at that moment, or every single block from the history, and that's queryable even from your local node by the RPC. And what I do is basically I just take on one axis the block number, on the other axis the space pledge you get from RPC, and that's what you get. And it has, if you can see, it has the steps on it. That's because solution range adjustment only happens every 2016 blocks. So it will not be ever a smooth graph. It will always be in steps. I could produce some smoother graphs that, I don't know, takes a snapshot like every day at like midnight or whatever time. So it's not as steppy. And I will be updating that thread of Gemini 3H at, I don't know, guys, what cadence do you want? Weekly? Looking at our growth maybe every 2 or 3 days when I remember. But yeah, we'll be maintaining it.
Thanks, Daria.
Awesome. I appreciate the impromptu answer as well. Sweet. So next question we see here is from Zug, who mentioned Are there any plans to change the network load? Some users are encountering problems with the internet when the farmer and node is turned on, me included. There was a similar problem on 3G, but it was only at the beginning.
Yeah, so we have seen a number of posts. What we found is that it's where we've debugged specific examples with users, it tends to be a restriction imposed by their ISP. So if you take a look at I think if that's the forum post, there. Let me just check. Is this the one? There are some commands that you can run to try and find out where exactly your problem might lie. This isn't the thread, although there is a suggestion from Nazar there to try. We do understand that some people are having issues, but obviously we've got lots of farmers who are not having issues. So we think it's an exception rather than a norm, and we need your help to home in on exactly where the problem lies. To find out what's going on. I do know from personal experience that the ISP supplied router that I got for free with my broadband was not up to the job. And switching that out to something with a bit more grunt, since then I've had no issues. But yeah, we understand there's a problem, but we need more details, Zug, to home in. I'm not sure if there's any update from anyone in engineering that I've not been privy to.
I would definitely start with the router, though. I had like Jim mentioned, I had a similar experience. I had to upgrade from my, baseline ISP router myself versus, my new one. It doesn't quite face as many issues, and that's not to say I went and bought the nicest, super craziest thing out there. Just something that was, one or two steps above that cheapo model that you get from your internet company.
Absolutely, mine's a prosumer, I'd say, rather than like enterprise level, and it makes a big difference.
Definitely.
Okay, Punky's hungry. I know this is a tight subject, but this is the farmer call. Any info on GPU plotting? I don't have anything to share, I'm afraid. We've already said that we are partnered with Supranational, who are working on something for us, an official GPU plotter. But we don't have a date, which is what you're really after, isn't it, Punky? I'm afraid. If we did have a date, you could expect it to be very big news for everyone.
I can also say I did have a community member reaching out about diving into that venture as well. So maybe a community GPU plotter may pop up here in the coming weeks, if we're lucky.
That's right. Kick the hornet's nest, Justin. There's a question from William. Does it make sense to run TK along with the farmer?
Timekeeper.
Right, Timekeeper. Okay. So this has been asked a few times, hasn't it? The best timekeeper is one that can just concentrate on proving how long a second is. No distractions like farming. That doesn't mean to say that if our top guys went down, this is the beauty of a decentralized network. If our top guys who are doing that went down, then a CPU that was also farming, but had a core dedicated to timekeeping, would be the next place we go. It would be the next best timekeeper. Our absolute top tier best, example would be, an overclocked dedicated CPU. We appreciate that. That's quite a commitment, though. So, it's allocate what resources you can, William. They're all gratefully received.
My general thought process with timekeepers is, does it make sense? If you love Subspace, it makes sense. If you want to support the network, if your hardware can support it, I would recommend running it. But again, I do understand that the timekeeper side, doesn't quite have the same incentives, obviously, that farmers do. Last question that we have, at least that I've seen so far, is from Inout IK, is when will the meme contest end?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, we were caught on the hop a little bit with how quickly you smashed the 8 Pivibytes target. So, we were supposed to end the meme contest in the async event. I am going to ask Ryan to provide everyone an update on where we are with the meme contest. So you can expect that soon. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, it got me with that one.
Right. Yeah, it caught us all off guard. I kind of came off of one call, and between that call and the next call, it had gone. There was no slow build up as we'd hoped. Certainly, as the first few days indicated, it was steady, whoop, through the roof. Okay, so we're at time, guys. As always, it's been great, and thanks to our special guests today, Todd and Daria, and Jeremy and Nazar in the chat, Emil, Pradeek, as always. Thanks everyone for joining us today.
Definitely. And as always, we thank you all for joining us as well. We know it's definitely been quite the ride, and we appreciate all the support as we move through all of our versions. As always, keep up with the Discord, our forums, Twitter, and Telegram. And if you're as always, if you're looking to help make Subspace a more global project, help contribute to our translations as well. If you speak another language beyond English, we're definitely looking for contributors. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Jim. I hope you guys all have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.